So today we are having the first in the series of webinars on rural marketing, and it is called Rural Marketing Association of India Compass 2.0. And so in this, we are going to have five seminars, actually, five webinars. The first one is Science Behind Defining and Prioritizing Rural Landscape, which is today. It will be followed on 19th March on a topic of pandemic and era in rural is in limelight. What is the real growth story? It is scheduled on 19th of March. On 26th, we'll do on communication, the smart ways of communicating, voice, video, and vernacular in rural. It is on 26th. And how technology is enabling the last mile reach, challenges and opportunities. This is scheduled for 2nd April, Friday. And the last one, what can make us win, digital or phygital? It is scheduled for 9th April, 2021. So these are five. So I welcome my co-panelists here. We will introduce them. There are different sectors who are participating in this because we wanted to bring a cross-fertilization of ideas in terms of the rural landscape, be it in marketing or in distribution or in reach. But basically, we are talking of the consumption market and not the livelihood market. So that's one point I would like to give a small disclaimer here. We are talking about the rural as a consuming market. So the next one was that we had asked for a number of participants who have responded in terms of questions that they would like to ask. And these are the questions that we have received. So there are questions about rural. So what I have done is basically I have put these questions in terms of which are the sessions. I may not be able to cover all the answers to the questions that has been asked because these questions are not pertaining to only this particular class, but all the five webinars. So the first one is about, he wanted to know about rural. I am not, because of privacy issues, I am not giving the name of the people who have asked these questions. Some of the questions are very evolved, but I would like you to note them. Some of the questions are across the five webinars, so I would request you to attend all. The first one, the second one is a digital marketing. So on that, we have a specific session on where you will know about digital marketing and rural, or is on the 26th of March. The second one on the building confidence among rural kiranas about B2B platform. This could be taken up by us on 9th April, which is we are talking about digital or phygital, where we'll talk about both activation as well as using how do we use physical as well as digital in a manner that you have a win-win game. Then next one is opportunities in rural construction industry, specifically glass. This is cutting across the themes. So I would suggest that you attend all the sessions if you can afford to. We'll talk about the reach. We'll talk about what happened in the pandemic. We'll talk about communication. We'll talk about technology. We will talk about digital and phygital. And also the last mile reach. So I would suggest that as there will be speakers from all the industries, you may have pointers to you which can give you some thoughts, some ideas of some of the things that you may like to implement. Then there is a question from Amul saying that a big brand like Amul gets its distributors in 5,000, 10,000 towns, but we are not able to assure them a guaranteed optimum return. Hence, our coverage does not increase. What are some of the responses? Well, this also will be covered in the last mile. I would request you in the last mile, which is going up on 2nd April as well as the 9th April, you could possibly have some kind of visibility to in terms of answers. Why is rural important to New India? It will be cutting across all the five webinar sessions. So I will also cover it today. Because I will be taking up the FMCG sector today, not only as a moderator, but also as a participant, so as a speaker. So I will like to also possibly give you some ideas about this here. And then there is about the farm laws. I'm afraid about the farm laws, its implication, and what challenges we foresee in the coming times for aggregators and processors of procurement. That is not a part of these 5 webinars. We will discuss amongst ourselves a very important topic from the procurement point of view, which is also an input to rural marketing. So this, if we can take it up separately in a webinar. Then parameters, so as to have a common definition of rural. This is one of the questions which has always surprised all rural marketeers, that each agency has a different way of defining rural. I'm afraid I have no answers, but I will try to talk about it a little bit today during the webinar. How to crack the rural distribution mystery. For this, the last mile reach on 2nd April, and the also digital and phygital, that will also cover some of the aspect about distribution message, that because only doing a digital an app or a mobile phone does not make to ensure that the consumers will adopt it and start using it. So what are the kind of things that one can do? This is a question basically asked by a service sector, not from a product, from the service sector point of view, very, very important for banking and mobility services. How do we get a deeper understanding of rural market behavior in terms of brand affinity, content consumption, value system, etc.? A part I will cover, but a very little part, but I think a large part of it will get covered in the communication part and also digital and phygital part. What has changed in IT and mobile technology penetration in rural? Maybe all the 5 sessions, because your questions is cutting across. Then there are questions about rural distribution and channel management, and the problems the channel face, the adoption of technology by the channel, especially by the rural dealers, if not the distributors. So in the digital and phygital section, we will try to address this, including the technology section. Yes, Adar. Excel is not visible, but I am showing it here. Okay, it's fine. So I will try to see what best I can do. Anyway, it is over. I will say it. I will tell it again. Right? Okay, thanks. So this is the is the Excel visible now? Yeah, so these are the 5 or 8 or 9 questions that I had received. Request all the participants who had asked this question to kindly note down which are the specific sessions where we will deal with these questions. I will only deal with the science behind the reach and the prioritization of the markets today. So let's go straight down to our, I will be taking up first about the FMC sector, because that will give you an overall view. This being one of the largest sectors in rural, and then we'll go to agriculture. We will also go to seeds. We'll go to poultry feeds, also cement, because hardware and cement mostly are of the similar kind of behavior. But if there are questions of other sectors also which are not covering, you are most welcome to ask. Whatever we could give you an input, we will provide. Right. So now let me. So we are talking about today science behind defining and prioritizing our rural landscape. So this is a district in UP, which I have shown it in the picture. They just see the number of villages which are present. They are hugely populated. And how do you reach? Do you decide that you would like to go to all districts? Do you would like to go to all markets? If you are a regional player or a national player, these are challenges which always has plagued the minds of a rural marketeers. So as regard to rural, there are some a few things that I may like to say, talk about it now, which is that 66% of population. Most of these figures you know, but some of these points are a little unique. So I think many of us do not give much attention to it, but these are critical. But always ask the question, so what? If so many people live in rural, so what? And if you take an action and in terms of accessing the market, also ask the question, if that does not happen, that initiative does not fire, what do I gain or lose? So rural NDP is 62% of Indian NDP workforce, 84% of rural, and only 16% of Indian workforce is urban. Agriculture share was as high as 72% in 71 to 39%, which means that the service sector and other sectors are taking over rural income more than agriculture today. So that's a big thing for people who sell branded products and commodities. I will tell you why. Then agriculture, then share of non-agriculture income is increased in rural NDP. Most manpower employment have not had correspondingly increase in the corresponding increase, because some of the sectors like manufacturing, etc., though they have a larger chunk in terms of the total value, but they don't employ so many manpowers thanks to robotics. So most of the increases are hence employment inelastic. There are only 13 crore farmer families in India, 65 crore of population. 80% of them have another income apart from agriculture. So if you say that agriculture is down or agriculture has been impacted, doesn't mean that our rural market will shrink. May or may not be. Poultry, dairying, and other forms of services today are a part of the entire family income of agricultural family, and not only agriculture. Types of non-farm income, if you talk about, construction has about 30%, manufacturing 22%, and other services are about 45%. Urbanizing states with a higher share of the urban settlements have share of workforce in agri is obviously low. Poverty, 26% of is in rural, but 14% in urban. So this is a figure many people would not know. They would feel the large urban is very little in terms of poverty is less, but it is almost 14%. Urban rural remittance, people who come to the from rural area to urban area to work, is about 2 lakh crore per annum. That's the huge amount of money, and 50% of this, it is assumed, is spent on FMCG purchases. The households are normally who gets these spend it on FMCG purchase. Social sector funding, the various kind of schemes that the government gives to people in rural areas, which has a huge role to play in creation of consumption, be it Narega and many schemes, and this is almost 3 lakh crore. And that's a lot of money, because if you look at the government of India's total expenditure, it's about 29 lakh crores, urban and rural all inclusive. Out of which 3 lakh crore is only social sector free money in one or the other form, it is given to the rural area. So this has also a huge impact in terms of the rural market and its consumption. FMCG is the fourth largest sector in Indian economy. So many people won't be knowing, fourth largest. Food and beverages is 20%, health and hygiene is 30%, personal care is about 50%. Rural FMCG about 6.5 lakh crore in 2020. We expect it to go to 2025 crore to 2025 to 14.3 lakh crores, and 45% of total FMCG market is rural. That is huge. In some categories it is as high as 50%. In some other categories it can be lower than 30%. But 45% of the market being rural, it's a huge significance to a FMCG market here. And the expected growth by rural FMCG is almost 14%. Rural households spend almost 50% of their income on FMCG. And if you talk about the dealers, FMCG dealers, out of the total 102 lakh outlets which exist in India in FMCG, about 60%, about 60 lakh outlets are in rural areas. Rural women as emerging as a consumer class in decision making in rural households with respect to consumption of low ticket items like FMCG. More rural women work than urban. This many people won't be knowing. 35% of rural women work, with only 23% in urban. And many of these could be in farm labor. Non-farm income has a major driver for branded product consumption. That is, non-agriculture income is a major driver of branded product consumption. So this is how India lives. 89 metros, 146 towns, 85 towns and villages within 2 lakh to 50,000. So if you look at it is a pyramid where the base is very, very big. And that's where the most of the rural lies, that is below 50,000, 5.95 lakh towns, and with 86.6 crore population. So if you talk about urban India, the way we understand, if we divide India into three parts, the urban India into two parts, the metro, the non-metro, and the big cities, and the midtown India and the villages. There are only 235 towns, which is up to the population of 2 lakh. Only 235, that's the period, that's it. And only 885 towns are between 2 lakh and 2 lakh and 50,000 population, which is we call small towns. And then there is 5.95 lakh towns. But then 5.95, if you divide, almost 2.29 lakhs plus 3.39 lakhs, that is below the population of 5,000. So that is a chunk. And then there is only 25,986 small towns between 50,000 and 5. So now the way we define rural is different for different companies. Some of the companies would define it below 1 lakh to be rural. Some will define below 50,000 to be rural. Some will define below 10,000 to be rural. It all depends the company's appetite for rural market, its size, where it wants to go, and what it wants to do. So if you have a question that you want to access all rural market, be cautious. It is too big a game. Be very cautious in playing the game, so that every rupee that you spend well, and make money out of it. There is enough and more demand. But remember, in rural, every need is not a demand. Every need is not a demand is something, it's unlike urban. Urban, if a salesman is going around the street, he will get a class outlet, he will get a B class outlet, he will get a C class outlet, he get the opportunity cost of visiting a C and D is not that high vis-a-vis a rural area. If you leave a A-class village and go to a C-class village, then the cost of the salesman, the transportation cost, all is same, but the return will be less. And the time spent is huge. He cannot come back and do another market the same day. These are some of the questions most companies may or may not appreciate, because they see proximity as the reason. तो बड़े गांव को जा रहे तो छोटा गांव भी कर लेगा, लेकिन छोटा गांव करने के टाइम पर जो समय उससे गया, could that have been spent in other areas? This is the question which most companies ask. We will deal about this in little later as regard to how do you prioritize your market. So this is, I have talked about. Now let's come to rural classification. This is another question one participant had asked, was that how do we define what is rural? So government of India in the census doesn't define rural. It defines what is urban, and what is not urban is supposed to be rural. So you have got statutory towns, then we have got census towns. We have three population, all of us know about it. A minimum population of 5,000, at least 75% of male working population engaged in non-agricultural pursuit, and a density of population of at least 400 per person per square kilometer. Then the towns are divided into 6 classes. Class 1 is 1 lakh above, class 2 is 50,000 to 999, and class 3 is this, class 4, class 5, and class 6. RBI uses the same population criteria to define tier centers, a concept used in designing incentive for bank branch and ATM expansion. Towns with population below 5,000 are called tier 6 towns. Tier 1 comprises metropolitan and urban. Town 2, 3, and 4 comprise semi-urban centers, and town 5 and 6 are rural centers. So I will not be in a position to tell you that when you read in the newspaper that that someone says that now a lot of demand is coming from tower 2 and tower 3. I do not know what is the tier system he is using. He is using the RBI system, he is using the census system. The media companies have their own way of talking of the tier. Some companies may invent their own way of defining their tiers. So be very careful, because we generally make assumptions that tower 3 means rural. Tower 3 by all means may be meaning 50,000 to 1 lakh, which is much easier to access than a rural settlement. Some of the e-commerce companies would say that we covered out of 21,000 pin codes, some 19,999 pin codes. What does it mean? Does it mean they go to every village? Normally, generally speaking, you will presume yes. But remember that one pin code covers almost 86 square kilometers. So you could be very well going to a tehsil headquarters, which is one pin code, but surrounding it are multiple villages which is having the same pin code number. These are sub post offices. Now, does that mean that that e-commerce company will be able to deliver to those places? May not be. So many of these statements, in my opinion, that many of these things could be a media promotion to lure investors, saying that such a big market we are able to access it. So the question to ask is that, are you accessing it? Number one. And number two, if you are accessing it, is there a consumer? Number two. Number three, if there is a consumer, is he willing to buy? And the last point is that if he is willing to buy, will you be able to cost effectively service it? These are the questions one needs to ask. Hence, after defining the landscape of rural in terms of the priority of the markets, which you can define very scientifically, you have to lay over your cost structure above it and say that what is the best way I can serve. Whichever is not cost effective, just for the sake of serving a market, in my opinion, you should not do it till the time you crack the code. That is why you find many times when there is a good monsoon, many companies will increase their footprint in rural, and when there is anything which impacts the rural market negatively, they will immediately reduce it, saying that the cost बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, वहाँ से उतना पैसा नहीं आ रहा. But there are companies who have sustained their rural foray, like Unilever, like Dabur, like Imami, like Ricket Benkaiser. Many companies in the last 1.5 years after the COVID came and the rural market was growing. I only hope that they make many of them have a very scientific way of approaching it. But my submission will be that if you want to go to rural, go with the aspiration and of a long-term aspiration, and don't access all market if it is not feasible. But whatever you access, get into the science of it, get into the consumer, get into the dealer network, get into each one of the segments of the marketing variables, and see that you stay there, and then you will win the game. So we will come back to the rural consumer. I will just talk in 2 or 3 aspects, because it's important for us to know that what is the rural consumer. If the consumption is not there, distribution channel बनाकर क्या करेंगे? अगर कंजप्शन आपका आदमी खरीदना ही नहीं चाहता माल, या आपका माल का वहां पे डिमांड नहीं है, या आपका तो फिर वहां पे डीलरशिप बनाकर फायदा नहीं है. जो दिखता है वो नहीं बिकता है. I don't believe in it. The days are gone. That was the statement which used to be made during the scarcity time, कि कुछ मिलता नहीं था तो जिसका माल मिल गया उसको बिकता है. अभी वो सिचुएशन नहीं रहा. Many of the categories have got commoditized. Even regional players are equally producing good quality products. तो जो दिखता है हाँ सही बिकता है, बल्कि बहुत कुछ चीज दिखता है. तो लेकिन आपको कहाँ का और क्या दिखाना है वो आपके ऊपर में है, आप कैसे डिसाइड करना चाहते हैं. So in the rural consumer, in the FMCG framework, we are asking this question, that is he or she emerging as aspirational, or is he or she is imprisoned in legacy? So earlier, and one thing which most of the rural marketeers will be knowing about the classification of rural, which is similar to SEC classification of urban today. So we are today talking about this was the old classification of rural, which was dependent on 2 factors, and used to say the education of the chief wage earner and the type of house it used to possess. And then the new SEC classification is now talking about the education of the chief earner and the number of consumer durables, a basket of 11 items. I think they have increased to 23 items now, including electricity connection, whether he has a car, he has an air conditioner, he has a fan, and things like that. And then they grade them into 12 grades. So if you look at the 12 grades, it depends on what kind of product and category you have. Hence, you may be able to pinpoint to some extent that the kind of people that will be residing in a particular settlement, and hence whether your product will sell there or not. If you feel that the product will sell because similar products are selling and that there is a propensity to buy, there may be a possibility that you can create a distribution infrastructure, you can create a reach and create activation programs, create media blast there, and push your product. But it is necessary for us to understand the SEC classification of the rural, and also how the SEC classification overlies the rural geography. Another very important factor is the socio-cultural regions. Socio-cultural regions, many companies accept, many companies do not accept. But there are socio-cultural regions in terms of the similar kind of behavior, irrespective of the political boundaries. For example, a place like Balasore or Bhadrak or Shoro in Orissa will match the lifestyle and the way people behave. The culture will match very much to Bengal. A part of the Bengal may be closer to Bihar. A part of the Bihar may be closer to UP. So there are organizations who have made socio-cultural regions. Some had 51, some had 91. But this is a very unique way of defining your customer class, and hence their consumer behavior for specific categories. So for example, if you look at this Bihar and UP, so you will find that Audh, which is the SCR number 10, it has a part of Bihar in Purba, Saran, Paschim, Rohtas, and Balia, and also Gazipur, Jaunpur, Azamgarh, Allahabad, Mirzapur of UP. So they belong to the same SCR. So this may be important. So once you define the SCR, so we take a state, take different SCR, and each SCR, which are the rural areas, and under each of the rural areas, what are the households, and then you say this household is a A1, B1, B2, B3, BU4, and what is the kind. So I think vis-a-vis urban, which is highly congested in terms of human settlement, in rural, specificity in terms of even defining to a village level what could be the demand of your products in that area could be a possibility. This is one of the framework of a multivariate, multi-level analysis that can be done. Many other formats can be used like this. So rural consumer annual household disposable incomes in rural India have been on the rise, and from just over $1,700 per annum, the annual disposable income may go up to $3,250 by 2025. I will not deal with this. There is enough and more in internet for you to read on this, that why rural is important. There are 2 or 3 things which has happened, which subsequent seminars will speak about. Is the role of the technology. What does it do? Does it improve demand, or it only makes it better or easier for us to do the business? Does it improve the efficiency, or also improves the effectiveness of our marketing? Rural, then a few questions about the rural consumers are some of these things are that rural consumer is not one set. Rural to urban migration has an impact on the rural aspiration. Rural does not insinuate poor. Organizations are now analyzing rural and urban in similar classification. Rural women emerging as a powerful consumer group for FMCG. And working women are increasingly having more bargaining power. SSGs and other models are with economic agenda have created a sense of empowerment. Research shows that women with higher empowerment have a higher propensity to buy quality products and branded products. And the emerging role of mother, and extremely value conscious, but still not very mobile savvy. Many take help of children and husband to use mobile. This is as far as women are concerned. If you look at the digital, this is very important, and we'll take it up in detail when the digital thing come up, our webinar. The total number of subscriber in September 2019, I think that is the latest RMAI report. Rural is only 32 crores. And teledensity is about 58. Internet connection are 25 crores, and number of internet subscriber per 100 is 28, whereas in urban is more than 100. So this is something, though we are talking a lot about digital, we must be able to know that which area we're talking about, which geography you're talking about. For example, you may find that Delhi will be one of the highest, Delhi and Tamil Nadu will be highest when it comes to rural in terms of the number of internet subscriber for 100. But if you come to Chhattisgarh or Orissa, it may be sub 14. So if you want to create a network, create a program using digital technology, you must be very aware about the penetration of digital in rural areas, and also at the district level. The data is very much available today. So we now talk about the subject of priorities. With that in the background, which talked about rural as a whole, we talked about the defining and prioritizing the rural landscape. This is a place I had gone sometime to Manar and Muzaffarpur, which has a 2,000 plus population. There I saw street hawkers who was selling pasta. So I was very surprised. I said कि ये पास्ता तुम गांव में लेके कहाँ जाते हो? तो उसने बोला सर ये टीवी में जितना प्रोग्राम होता है, डिजिटली प्रोग्राम होता है, लोग अच्छा खाना खाना चाहते हैं, तो ये भी लोग यूज करते हैं. And I believe me, it was a local brand. So I was just thinking why the other brands are not available. So here the question came up that some of the new brands or some of the new products that we make, many companies use the wholesale channel to push the product to the interior markets. So the wholesale will be the last man to pick up a pack of pasta and experiment with it. They will sell what sells. So here the question of direct reach is something which is very important. And for example, this particular hawker was a hawker approved by one of the biggest FMCG companies of the country. He was selling all the, and plus he was selling unbranded products also, because अपना कंपनी अपने पास में ये माल नहीं देता है, बनाता नहीं है, तो हमारा जो बिकता है वो कस्टमर को जो चाहिए वही बेचेंगे. The lookalikes plenty, This was a place called Danya 1, Bihar, with a population of 4,056 only. And this is the number of chocolates which are being sold there. Now, we sometimes are frozen in legacy and saying that ye mal bikega, ye mal nahi bikega. But I think if you select market appropriately, looking at various variables, you will have islands of prosperity, and many of them in various area. And if you target your market segments towards that, your rural game will be a winner. But vis-a-vis, if you go for a mass marketing and a carpet bombing kind of marketing, मैं पूरा ये तहसील में हर जगह में पहुंच जाऊंगा. I am going to storm Bihar market. These are storms which are used very loosely. Please be very careful about it, because you will not know आपकी पैसा किस हाथ से चला जाएगा और आपको बाद में पता चलेगा कि इतना पैसा खर्चा किया, रिटर्न तो इतना आया. लॉस नहीं होगा, पर प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी आप जब देखेंगे तो बॉस पूछेगा कि भैया तेरा रूरल एबिटा कम है, अर्बन एबिटा ज्यादा है, तो मैं क्यों रूरल में मार्केटिंग करूं? होलसेल को 1% देकर काम नक्की कर, क्यों वहां पे मार्केटिंग करता है? तो सिलेक्शन एंड प्रायोरिटाइजेशन ऑफ द मार्केट इज वन ऑफ द की जॉब्स. I'm afraid to say that I have made ASMs of many companies, except for top two or three companies that I can name. Many of them would not know the game only. For them, putting the map in front and taking the population as the criteria is only, in FMCG I'm talking about, is the only way of cracking the rural code, which may be far, far away from the truth. And today, with the use of technology, this is a possibility. In our time, it was not. We had nothing but FMCG, the population as the criteria. So, so this is Jila Sultanpur. So, which village to cover on priority, which cover not to cover at all, where to have a direct distributor, should you have a hub and spoke model, which are better left to wholesale, which are not to cover at all, and should the same strategy for reach and coverage play out, let us say, for Haryana versus a Chhattisgarh versus a Maharashtra versus a Kerala, which is urbanized rural. So if you are talking about a district in the poorest district of Punjab, is it better than the richest district of Chhattisgarh? That's the question one asks. Or inside Chhattisgarh, if you talk about various tehsils are there, the richest tehsil, is it vis-a-vis the poorest tehsil? Now, if you say that I want to attack Chhattisgarh, do you say that I will go to every tehsil, I will go to every village in that particular tehsil, or you select the market? यहाँ पे इतना टायरसम हो जाता है खेल कि लोग एनएसएम लेवल तक वो विजिबिलिटी रहती नहीं है. और यहाँ पे और भी एक चीज होती है कि कंपनीज में the NSM is same for rural and urban together. So by the time he discuss rural, वो शाम हो जाती है तब तक. ये the 27th line item. तो उस वक्त जो डेप्थ और एनालिसिस का जो आपको जो डेप्थ और फिनिश चाहिए, वो फिनिश मिलती नहीं है आपको. और इसीलिए मेरा ये मतलब है कि the companies which has a good and high rural aspiration must have a separate wing for rural for some time till they stabilize. For like Unilever had a rural wing, and then subsequently, once they matured to a large extent, and they had unearthed the science of how to go to rural market and have a visibility of the rural KRAs and KPIs, and they could manage the same ASM looking or the same RSM looking after rural and urban together. But initial to start with, this is possibly to unearth to create your own insights of the rural. It might be a good idea to have a rural segment separate. Then you had potential market versus non-potential market. Here Nielsen had done a study of high throughput market and low throughput market, and they said that there are sales centers and there are consumption centers. That means they said that if you go to a particular number of villages, you find the population to be low, but because these villages are strategically located, that means it's a mandi or it's a tehsil headquarter or it is at the Chaurasta or for any other reason, people pass through that particular village, hence it sells more, but it is not consumed, or people carry it to their feeding markets. So these are called feeder markets in a loose term. So there are consumption market and sales sales center. So if you take population as a criteria, then they, as per Nielsen, it says that only 50% of those people of the centers which has a high population are also high in sales, and balance 50% are not high. So they had a percentile map. This is and they said that out of 6 lakh villages, only 2 lakh villages and 33% almost constitute the 80% of the FMCG demand. So now coming to other categories, our friends will talk about it, whether such a thing exists, And then how do we get to know to this 33%? That's the next question. You will say, sir, मेरे पास 100 market है, इसमें से ये 33% कौन सा मैं जाना चाहता हूँ? और ये all these 33% will not be clustered in one particular area that you will say that it is easier for me to cover. This will be spread across the geography. So how do you spot? So what do you do if you go from one of these villages to another village, and in between there are potential villages? Do you leave them? Don't you do them, or you have a separate channel to do? These are questions to ask, and many companies have cracked it in different ways. Some companies says no, it's a no, we will not go to these markets. We will go to only this 33%. Some say that no, we'll create a cluster in the sense that we'll create a wholesaler for these markets, and our direct distribution will be in this 33% market. So this is another way of doing it. Then there is another company which use GIS to spot potential villages. They take GIS maps and says that ऊपर से हम देखते हैं कि कौन सी विलेज में ज्यादा concrete houses है and पक्का houses है. So we believe that if there are pakka houses, that means that people have lot consumption, they have money. That's why it's pakka houses, which are thatched houses. And that is how they had done exercise of UP, and they had gone to about, physically they have surveyed about 80,000 villages, and they had 93% accuracy of these villages being consumption centers, being sales centers and not consumption centers. So Mart also had done one analysis in terms of market attractiveness score at village level. People also use RK Swami. Then there are companies today, very, very high-tech companies which are today helping a lot of FMCG companies in marketing their products in interior areas. So they are giving apps in the hands of the retailers, which is of the salesmen, which is very common. And once the salesman goes and sells in a particular village, they are able to map each village what is the throughput. And over a period of time, across a particular geography, once they cover, which is a new thing which was not there, I believe that they will be a powerhouse in about 3, 4, 5 years time. Some of these companies which are creating digital distribution, DMS as we call it, distribution softwares, and at the retail point, at the salesman point, at distributor point, they will be in a position to tell you that which are the villages which are having high throughput of many companies wares, and which are the villages which is having low. That's another new way of doing, which in my time we could only possibly depend on Nielsen. So that is another new story which is coming up. So some of the data points that you can use is from NSS, the monthly per capita consumption, rural market potential value from Hansa, bank deposits in rural is another indicator. FMCG sales in rural, but then the question comes up, where do you get the sales figure from? Mobility consumption per rural, the mobile towers which are there, how much is the throughput of the mobile towers? Is that a right indicator? GST collection, I don't think that's the right collector, because today after GST, people can sell across geographies. So one state, a distributor can be there who can sell to another state. So this is some. There are many ways by which we do. So so this is Briddhi, which Impact had done. This is about seeding in different villages, and they also had a technology in terms of defining the potential and non-potential village. Then this is about Horlicks, which has done an activation network in different villages, and has used technology in terms of video players, then technology in terms of dealer apps, then salesman apps, and real-time reporting and monitoring and geotagging of the movement of the salesman. So in my opinion, if you look at the prioritizing of the market, it is far easier today than it was in the earlier years. So the question the question that each company has to ask, and they are not very costly, using technology is not as costly as it used to be in earlier years. So here I would like to leave it to other sectors and to learn from them, because unlike FMCG, which has got 60 lakh outlets, a sector, let us say a paint industry may not have more than 70,000 or 80,000 outlets in rural areas. So how do they decide out of these 6 lakh villages, which are the 70,000 that will go to? Some will not have more than 30,000. It is much more critical. It is not because of anything, it's because of penetration, the category penetration. I worked in 2 companies in Amul. It was just like what I described, and in Pidilite it was very different, because it was only sold in hardware stores. So if you take an industry like agriculture, if you take an industry like glass, if you take an industry like selling, let's say apparel, each one will have their own scientific way of doing it. My only point is that use science, use the variables which is available to you in while going to a geography and deciding where to go and where not to go. The discussion possibly could start from prosperous to aspirational states, and within a particular state, prosperous to aspirational districts, and then within the district, I think you can go really micro. बट टू डिसाइड कि सारे बीमारू स्टेट में चलते हैं या यूपी में चले गए तो हिमाचल में भी चलना चाहिए बिकॉज प्रॉक्सिमिटी है, एडजेसेंसी है, मेरा ऑप्टिमाइज हो जाएगा कॉस्ट. आई थिंक that in as far as rural is concerned, that's not the right game because it is too vast, and optimization of the cost just because of the proximity of the territory of state to state in terms of coverage or your national plan of sales is not that material. You may cover or may not cover states, but what you cover you must cover very well. So this with this I will in my presentation I will now invite let me just see who are on the line. I will invite Kalra Saab, Dr. Anup Kalra Saab, a veteran of almost 35 plus years of experience in the agriculture and feed industry. I think we always look up to him as far as rural is concerned for years for his insights. And I would request him to advise us and to give some of the insights as regard to how does the feed market operate, what are the kind of variables they use. For people who are in FMCG and other sector, the point to note is not to say that feed market is doing like this, it is immaterial to me. No, what we are possibly trying to say is that is a scientific method usable in rural to make our life easy, make our in terms of getting our revenues vis-a-vis the cost that we incur. That's the question, that's the fundamental question we are asking and reaching out to the customer.
Namaskar, sir.
Yes, Kalra Saab.
Sir, namaskar. How are you, sir? I am not able to start my video, sir. Mr. Adhar, I am not able to start my video.
Sir, I'm just checking, sir. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, थोड़ी देर लगी, you can come. थोड़ी देर में.
Hi, Kalra Saab. Good afternoon.
Namaskar, sir.
Welcome.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. How are you, sir?
We're really looking forward to some great insights from you.
The thing, I mean, I was listening to the deliberation. You have gone in depth about the rural markets and the way the rural market should be approached in a scientific method and in a technical method. I think I may not be able to add much value to the way scientific way which you have just now shared. But yes, from the perspective of animal health and the agri sphere, which we have been marketing our specialities for last over 25 years now. I think we have been since inception into the rural markets. Because wherever there is agriculture, there is livestock, and the farmer happens to be a common person. He might have 2 acres of land, he might have 5 acres of land, he might have 2 animals, he might have 5 animals. Now, any rural so-called village, when we define, village will essentially have the land, which is cultivable land. One. Second, it will have animals, and then whatever additional, it have a post office, it might have a bank, it might have an ATM, it might have a school, it might have all the facilities which the government or the district administration would provide. But essentially, last 25 years, wherever I have gone, what I have observed is rural will have animals and rural will have land. The land, may be irrigated, may not be irrigated, but essentially land will exist and the animals would exist. So, I was listening to the deliberation which you just now shared, that, people have been looking at 5,000 plus population, 10,000 plus population, 15,000 plus population. The way I look at it and the way our industry looks at it, first, I would like to share on the health sector, health side. Now, what happens on the health? For all of us as human beings, we always consider ourselves to be healthy. And when we say we are healthy, we don't actually look at our energy levels. We don't look at our, the ability to perform the task in the given time frame. But in case of livestock or in case of poultry, they have certain parameters in which they have to perform. For example, a cow has to give milk 5 liters or 10 liters. A hen has to give an egg every day. So therefore, for them, health is very, very important. And looking into the rural perspective and the health of these animals, what essentially, the marketers in our kind of segment have been looking at, for especially the dairy sector, they have been following the cooperative dairy federations. So, which are the districts where the district cooperative milk unions exist? Where are those places where the village level cooperatives exist? They are known as VLCs, village level cooperatives, where some 50, 100 farmers come together and collect 5,000 liters or 10,000 liters of milk, and make it available to the cooperative for selling it. So essentially, the marketers have been looking at these cooperatives, milk cooperatives, where these milk cooperatives exist. So wherever these milk cooperatives exist, they feel that there is an opportunity to do business. The second area which they look at is the veterinary hospitals or the dispensaries. So whichever village they look at the type of animals there and the practice they undertake. Because ultimately, from here is the linkage of the retail business and then the trade business. So essentially, when they look at it, they say, okay, good, I have a dairy cooperative in the village, that's the VLC. One, there is a good veterinary hospital. The animals are productive here, and the village land is fertile, and therefore I have an opportunity to get prescription for my products or sell my products to the farmers directly. But my experience tells me that, out of these 6 lakh villages which we have in our country now, they may be more than 6 lakh villages. Our health industry has not been able to cover more than a lakh villages. The reason is, because cost is one of the major impediment. Because you cannot have, for a medical sales guy, if he visits a good hospital like All India Institute of Medical Sciences anywhere, for example, Delhi, he will have opportunity to meet a lot of veterinarians, a lot of medicos. But in the animal health side, one village will only have one village level cooperative and one dispensary, and he will have to move around. So that is a challenge we as the marketers have been facing. So therefore, the industry had looked at various options. Can we tie them? Can they have a tie-up with some good agriculture company, which has got a good distribution network? So can they tie up with them? So that is one model which possibly the livestock health industry has been following. That is one part. The second part, as Panigrahi sir was just now mentioning, is about the feed industry. the feed industry is really a very big industry. If I tell you the numbers, the learned members here or the participants would be surprised that, India is the largest milk producer in the world, and third largest egg producer in the world, and fourth largest meat producer of the world. And the numbers are just huge and phenomenal, because when we normally tend to meet in RMAI, our focus is majorly rural. So all these poultry industry, dairy industry is essentially rural, and the broiler industry is worth 85,000 crores. The layer industry is 45,000 crores. The milk which is produced is sold as almost 800,000 crores. So they are, in a way, in their own way, a very, very big industry. And it's a very scientific way of, producing the food, because ultimately this food which is produced is for you and me. And apart from the nutritional security, we have been focusing on the safety of the food, and therefore it attains a good amount of significance. But as far as this feed is concerned, I think India produces very good quality feed, and some of the leaders, like in the feed industry, in dairy and poultry, if I remember good names, Godrej is one of the leaders, Cargill is another leader. Then in South, there are huge number of leaders, like KC is a leader. In North, Makhanlal is the leader. Now, they have their own distribution network. For example, the feed, normally it is 50 kg bag, and then they have their rural reach. To make the rural reach, they have a distribution network, they have a retail network. But to make these retail networks successful, what we keep calling them is the village level meetings are very, very important. And these village level meetings, essentially we get an opinion maker who undertakes these activities, creates the knowledge amongst the farmers that what kind of quality feed has to be used. This instills the confidence amongst the farmers, and there's an opportunity for him to try. Once the demonstration is successful, possibly the farmer tends to do the repeat purchase and continue. But this feed industry itself is a huge opportunity for all those people who want to venture into the feed industry or to this animal health industry. While I was talking about this network, you can interrupt me if there are any questions in between, so that I can answer them, because I'm just sharing some of my thoughts extempore, and possibly the interaction, I think, would be a better opportunity for me to learn and to share my thoughts as well. As far as the livestock industry is concerned, as I shared in poultry feed, similarly in the livestock industry, the focus always of the farmer is, if I use a particular feed, because we've had feed business as well. So they say, sir, aapka feed dene se kya fayda hoga? So his focus is only one, that will the milk production increase? So therefore, there is a specialized team, technical and the extension team, which has to work in the rural areas, demonstrate the feeding of the cattle feed, demonstrate the increase in milk production, basis which then the system continues and he gets attached. He says, now in our marketing language, people might call this ATL, BTL, but for us, these activities are so important that they create value for the farmers and also for the organization. So we've been working on these lines, and we have created a network of rural entrepreneurs. These people have been trained by us as the, we call as Sambandh associates. So these people work with the farmers, create relation with the farmers, undertake the demonstrations, and then convince the farmers basis the results, and then the network grows from point to point, and then the income of the farmer is looked at. And therefore, if a particular farmer X in the village says, "Oh, I used Ayurvet feed; it is excellent," then the others automatically start, taking it forward. So, these are some of the practices which we have been using it, whether it is for feed industry, whether it is for livestock animal health. But I feel that there's a huge opportunity for people to come forward and to help the people in this industry. One thought that comes to my mind, that uh, organizations like ITC, and there are a lot of other organizations who are investing into the CSR funds to support the clean milk production, to support the quality food production. It could be milk, it could be egg. And there's a huge opportunity which surely could be encashed as part of way forward in this livestock and the animal health industry. So if there are any questions, I am here to interact with all of you and to share my thoughts as well.
So one question I had, Anup sir, was that in terms of when you decide to go to rural for marketing any of your, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are, sir.
So my question was that if you go to a particular district or particular state, suppose you take Uttarakhand, and you have seen that Uttarakhand milk production is good. So, and you would like to market animal feed. So is it that the data of the milk production at the village level or the society level, is that what you look into when you approach the market in terms of creating your network, or is there any other variables that you use?
I think we have two people to whom we get in touch with. One is the village level cooperative, and it starts at the district level, and then we try and reach at the village level. So we talk to the person who heads the village level cooperative and the person who heads the district level cooperative. So the people at the district level, they give us the inputs that, look, our milk collection is coming from such and such taluks, and within these taluks, these are some of the prominent areas, because otherwise it is just not feasible to cater to all the villages. So if there are, say, sir, given an opportunity to work in 100 villages, we might choose out of that 5 to 10 villages where we focus our activities and initiatives.
Your product is a voluminous product, right?
If it is feed, then it is voluminous. If it is not feed, if it is a healthcare product, then we focus, our focus are two. One is the milk cooperatives. Second is the prescription base of the veterinarians and the para-veterinarians.
So that product, how does it reach? The volume may be low. So how do you make it reach? Do you use local transportation, or how do you reach?
We have, sir. We have our network of the dealers and the retailers. So the dealers are essentially based at either at the district level or at the taluk level. So each dealer is networked with around 10 to 12 retailers. So these retailers are normally located in the villages, and the retail shops are near the veterinary hospitals or near the milk cooperatives.
So you would send it by bus. You would send it by bus or any other mode which goes
the
to that
retailer.
village.
There are two things, sir. One, the retailer gets it on his own from the AWD. The second, our representatives, when they cover or cater this area, they carry it on their own motorcycle and make the delivery to these retailers.
But this may not be feasible in case of feed, which is voluminous.
No, in case of feed, we don't follow this. In case of feed, it goes, because it is in tons. So if our distributor buys, say, for example, in a month, he will buy around, say, 30 tons or 40 tons, then he will look for a what you call retailer who is able to buy at least 5 to 10 tons feed from him.
Yeah.
So this is transported through the tractor trolleys which are locally managed. We don't transport it. And the distributor charges the retailer about for the transportation cost.
Yeah, so my question was there are multiple categories which find it very difficult to transport their product because of a part truckload capacity. So if it is a full
Correct.
truckload capacity, nobody has an issue. If it is a part
Yeah.
truckload, someone requires 1 ton of material or 2 tons of material, but you will make a minimum ordering quantity saying that unless it is 5 tons, I would not transport the material. So there
Correct.
could possibility of you're losing out that market share either to a competitor or that particular demand going unfulfilled. So when it happens multiple category, it could happen in cement, it could happen in field. I am talking about voluminous product.
Correct.
And there are localized transporters who normally do it, and this is where we have the last mile challenge, as we call it. We
Right.
get, but we find it always not very cost efficient to make the product reach. The demand exists. So is there a possibility of collaboration with other industry as far as the last leg is concerned?
That also always we try and explore, that if there is a non-competitive industry, we definitely try and explore. And the second option which we have been till now working is, suppose on a route there are 3 retailers and they each have got say order of 1 ton or 1.5 ton. Then we try and ask them, okay, fine, on a particular day, say once in a month or once in fortnight, a tractor trolley will run and they would be given the part load, say 1.5 tons, 1.5 ton, so that 5 ton is taken care. But definitely the opportunity which exists is not being encashed fully. That I agree with you.
Great. Okay, sir. I think that's great. That's great, Anup sir. We got some views as regard to the feed market, extremely rural. But I think in the activation part that we are talking about, we will have much more to learn from you. That how do you activate your products in the rural area? How do you go to the farmers? How do you go to the customers? How do you ensure that you are one up on the game with the competition? How do you create different with people with very strong mindset about their animals? How do you create a different mindset to ensure that they have the right feed for that? That's the session we are taking up subsequently. I think we will learn a lot from you there. Thank you, sir.
Surely.
Thank you so much.
Any other points? I'm available anytime, and
Yes,
it would be my privilege to share my thoughts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we will now come to our next segment, next category, which is cement. Mr. Rajan Verma. Cement, as you know, is a very interesting category. When I was working in Pidilite, I used to see that for every dealer that we appointed in a rural area, at least 50% had one or the other brand of cement. And this is if you go to rural areas, 2 agencies will be always visible to you, which has got very big hoardings and wall paintings, and one is cement company and another was the two-wheeler company. You will find a Hero or a earlier Honda and Suzuki and all the motorcycle and scooter companies, or you will find cement companies, one or the other brand. So I used to think that it is this particular product, how do they make such a large number of villages reach? And then I came to realize that 50% of the houses which are constructed in India, 50% of residential houses which are constructed in India are in rural areas. Okay, and balance 50% in urban. And in cement, almost 65% of your demand goes to consumption, real estate and houses, and about 20% to government infrastructure and 15% to industry, which means that government also has a large share in the cement industry. There was another learning during which I had during this webinar while preparing for this webinar was that bitumen is getting substituted in use on the roads the pitch roads that you used to call it by cement today, because it is felt that cement lasts longer. So that's a huge market for the cement industry. Government in the Gramin Sadak Yojana boli hai ki the various road programs that you have today, roadway programs that you have today, cement companies will benefit a large chunk from there. Yeah, but however, the other constraint is that cement being a voluminous item, they are very locational. They have locational constraint. They want to be closer to where fly ash is there, where you have the raw material is raw material quarries are there, where electricity is plenty available. So you used to have a lot of regional players in cement. But today, I think we are slowly getting into a oligopolistic kind of a situation in cement, where people are looking at larger footprints. They are buying out regional companies, and each one is trying to create almost a national footprint there. So that's a very interesting point from the perspective of brand building. Earlier, cement used to be known only on functionality, but today, you will find a lot of advertisement of cement on the television. I think somewhere they're appealing to the emotion of the homeowner, saying that आपको घर एक ही बनाना है तो अच्छा क्यों नहीं बनाए, तो अच्छा सीमेंट क्यों नहीं यूज करें. So quality of cement is another thing which is, so these are some consumer preferences I see changing as it is visible to a common man. So here Rajan is a 35-year plus industry veteran, and he has handled everything in as far as cement is concerned, from product marketing to activation to logistics to sales. And he works with JK Lakshmi Cement, and we welcome him to the program, and we hope that we will learn a little bit about this such a voluminous line which used to be known as a commodity, but I think it's now getting a share of the consumer mind as far as the brand is concerned. How do they market the product, and how do they decide which are the markets which are most potential for them, and which are the market they may delay in going, or do they just make a mass marketing or a mass approach, or in terms of accessing the market? Over to you, Rajan.
Evening, and thank you for bringing me on board. One of the wonderful things of the rural market is what I realized that when you step into about 3 feet of mud, or we see a golden chance of economic construction and everything when you're walking through the paddy fields and all. That is what the rural has been holding out for the cement industry for long. We see an opportunity. Over the period of time, if you look at out this, whenever you hear about a product, say this is just a commoditized product, that area, days of commoditization has long gone out. Every brand nowadays has some way or the other has added value. So you have got some different brands coming in, some supported by the product services, backed up by services, backed up uh, the best of products, that of the best of production facilities. So how does it come across as when we see pan India over a period of, it's not just rural has been a focus right from the last couple of months or years. Rural right in the beginning has been a focus area for almost each company, especially for Lakshmi Cement. For Lakshmi Cement, we have got a mother plant when we started off was in Rajasthan, that's in Sirui district. And Sirui district, if you understand, is was one of the most backward areas in the India, where actually when a plant was set up, we had those local Bhils tribes coming down from the foothills with a bow and arrow to pick up food items and everything. But now it's a very developed, and from that is where the focus around and around villages. Our opportunities for industries come in the fact that it's not just the question of semi-pakka houses or kacha houses, and it's a lot of opportunity. One is what everybody was saying, especially Mr. Sanjay, Panigrahi, and thanks for this, the insight. Government over the years there's been a shift in the way the funding or the science of budgeting has changed. Earlier, if you look at the budget, central budgets was focused around in the hands of the central government. Nowadays, if you carefully run through the budget profiling, it's a very clear case that only hardly about 10 to 50% is in the hand of central, the rest is under the state governments. So the spending power under the state governments has increased. One. Two is more focused. People also understand that if you focus more on the agricultural side, and the more the growth and happens. Plus, is one of the biggest thing which happens is in the rural segment, you are able to create that brand pull, create a demand, even because the difference between an urban and a rural sector is urbanized in big cities is more in the hands of large builders, contractors, where the decision makers is very less. While in rural, still, if you go as far as Bengal, if you go to the eastern border of India, where the cost of cement is probably higher than the rest of it. It's not because of that, because there the rural and especially the what we call as the individual house builders, those people are very focused and very demanding in terms of the quality of cement. They don't want a product which, if an urbanite says, we just walk into an urban city and say, okay, okay, I need to purchase a house. Well, in the rural segment, the customer inside clearly says that if they need a wall, the wall should last for 50 years, 100 years, or it should go right through decades and everything. So people are ready to pay premium for that. And for when it comes into the premium or not, what the industry realizes, every segment, be it rural, be it urban, there is a way to how the product needs to be marketed and how the product needs to be manufactured. A lot of research has gone into that lot of add-on products has come into the picture, and that is so. How do we get into the rural market? There's a couple of things which goes into it. One is the traditional way of finding out, since our plant is located more towards the rural segmented, so we get a lot of insights as to the type of activities going around in the rural villages. Point number two, there has been over a period of time, like we said, a lot of budgets are now being handled at the local state levels. If you go in depth, analyze the budgets, a lot of spends. Earlier, it used to be all driven by the central team and that used to be dispersed. Now, more the speed of decision comes faster for anything. Third is, of course, more and more as the village level people start getting educated, they have realized that's now you have to move from a mud house to a pakka house. Earlier, the usability of mud used to focus on a lot of things. The difficulty of cement sales in the rural segment was difficult in the sense that people always used to see mud when they plaster their houses with mud. It's got a lot of unique differences. Low maintenance. It's got in the evening or the even during summer, it gives a natural cooling effect. Two, it's very easy to construct. Three is you don't need a lot of mobility or storage space, and of course it's almost free of cost for villages and all. So there was a lot of challenge for the cement, and of course water is a basic necessity. Cement earlier used to need a lot of water, and water is you need a lot of sweet water. And certain villages, even in a country, has a lot of non-drinkable water. It's till the government have stepped in. So we went back like Lakshmi Cement and all. We re-engineered our product and services. Cement now is very needs a less number of water, faster to set, and certain applications. If you use cement, it gives the natural condition, keeping you safe, and of course the cooling and other effects. The longevity played a part in describing it. It's so what happens. What we are trying to say is that if you look at rural India, a lot of individual house builders is what is there, and that is a very key touching part. Many industries or many people will be missing out. Key, how do we connect with them? And to the individual house builder earlier, they used to be even village levels. They used to be connected through a set of masons or the set of dealers fraternity, or a set of contractors. They are part of the complete distribution chain. So if at one end we have the dealers or the retailers, then to reach out to a particular village level, you need to have a mason or a very educated contractor or a mason, because couple of thousands of one mason used to exist or two mason users, and they used to be drive the decisions and all. So that through education has over a period of a time changed. Then there was, of course, the question of the distribution. Who falls into the network? The last mile reach, be it a 10,000 village opportunity, be a less than 500 village opportunity, be a 5,000 less opportunity. The last mile reach was a difficult point to do it. And of course, the cement earlier used to go out in volumes, so there was a logistics issues which needs to play. So how do we keep the last mile reach comes into the focus? That is a set of wholesalers and dealers. There would be a major dealers catering to certain village areas within certain retailers. And the distribution logistics, rather than sending trucks, large trucks, which used to carry about 900 to 1800 bags, or which used to come into rigs, we send out in small volumes, small lots. And there used to be a segment earlier, it used to be a large wholesaler or retailer. So we have a large dealer in a particular area or a tehsil or district area. He gets further supported by a set of small retailers selling 50 bags, 20 bags, even 100 bags a month. And even there are masons and contractors now, they are also the last month change agent, in the sense that they help us to reach out to where the sites are being constructed, which are the site. If you don't mind, Mr. Sanjay, just can it take 1 minute? My director is calling up. Just a second. Hello. Just a second, sir. Yes, Shiva. Hello. Uh, I'll send it across. I'll send it across. Thank you. Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Sanjay. We just broke over. We were
Please go ahead. Please go
getting
ahead.
an award for lots of, yeah. Just so the director was asking for. Okay,
Yeah.
now when the last mile reach comes in, so if you look at, it's a series of, it's like a complete universe where the center of gravity is, if you look at, is the sun, and you have the Earth, the Mars, Venus, everything roaming out. So it's for us, the rural is how we look at it different. We put any villages right in the middle, and then we try to connect each segment how the chain works out. So if a plant is there, where's the volume wise, it's a cost factor up to a certain point, transport it in larger trucks, and from there we transship it or transship it through wholesalers. There could be a smaller dealer, and there will be a chain of dealers. Or nowadays, what we have done is we have over a period of time tried to create what is known as the Mason clubs or the contractors club. They act as a between a village level and yes. So whenever a demand comes in, or whether at a small level demand comes in, the shipment happens. It's just how the way of connectivity is there. So there could be a large warehouse. So the cost, there could be two things. One is have small warehouse at the village level, or there could be a hub and spoke model, create a central warehouse, and then from the day, based on the order perception, based on the quality, based on the services required, the order flows around. That is the thing. And if you look at in terms of the growth, in terms of how the cement has been behaving, a lot of the debatable question comes in. Okay, why, when there was a pandemic, why did it? One of the things what when we talk about, like the panel was earlier saying, this is a more and more focus on in terms of, for example, rural roads. Rural roads, if you look at of say which lasts about 21 years, 50 years or something, like if you take the question of why a cemented pavement and all, one of the best cases when you look at the necklace of Bombay, what you call the Marine Drive. That Marine Drive earlier, it was used to be like muddy area, but once it got cemented, concretized, that Marine Drive has stood the pace of time. Similarly happens in rural roads. It leads to, over a period of dots, it leads to a lot of cost savings. One, these being a flat roads, the maintenance goes down. Third is what we look at is nowadays the angle is it gives a lot of volume in terms of job opportunities to the village youth or to the people living in that area. So the government, if you look at, is the idea behind is it's not that it is a new thing which has come into the picture. Somebody or the other in the cabinet secretary level had the brainwave to why not connect it. It's only the government has taken the strong initiative to push it for rural roads, job opportunity in terms of the longevity is there, in terms of even it cuts down in terms of the logistics or the diesel cost. And plus is what happens the what we have been looking during the pandemic times, for example, that more and more or less people have now when they shift back to their when they started working from home is they have got a two-way. You're working from home for your company, and also you have been able to work out at your village level, the at tilling the land and everything. And from all these things, what comes in the education level at the village level has slowly going up. That is what has also been self-driven focus into people shifting in from semi-kacha or the kacha houses to a pakka houses. The housing for all concept, which comes into highly subsidized methodology. Then the adaptations of companies to cover the last mile in terms of the delivery system. Then products and services are being now tailored into taking care of faster setting times, faster or the speed of construction, or even like recently we have launched new products which at the village level needs lesser amount of water. Water being a scarcity, we have tried to conserve water. And of course, what comes the focus is when we are doing is there is a lot of CSR activities as a company, like which supports these people in terms of education, health. So there's a co-joint between supply, demand, and also looking out the people. So small things connected together is what helps you to drive a company or a brand and shift from a commodity to one of the uh, best brands known in India today in the rural and segments. And it is not just if we had made a commodity, if we had made a product, commodized a product and made it into a brand and tried to sell it, it wouldn't have sold off. It is a function of what we saw over a period of time, a very big shift from product centricity to a customer centric approach even into the rural level. All the graphs which you study, all the level which you study over a period of time in terms of the segmentation profiling, in terms of earlier there used to be a focus lot on the key decision makers. The key decision makers are still there. The uh, panchayat level, the village panchayat people who will be there, the school teachers could be there. They help you to decide it. But over a period of time, due to internet, due to the penetrations of TV, and even what has driven is to because of the all these yojnas which has come in from the government and the direct benefits being passed on. All what has happened that the precursor has been people now want to learn more and adapt quicker to a product and services. So that is what we try to do, reach out to the base level people, take them into confidence, and bring the lowest in terms of the lowest income group into a fold. Like in Haryana, the acceptance in certain areas has been because of the relationship which has come up in the rural. When you look at the distribution logistics of cement industries, which constitute about logistics and electrical and fuel costs about 60% of the cost, and it keeps on growing. One of the challenges is we may have put up a say a plant like we put up a Jhajjar area now. We may produce 100 product, one of the best products, ideally suited for the group. But the last mile, if we don't connect, if we don't make a relationship, is then again the product from a branding perspective, it becomes just a product center. It means from customer centric issues, it shifts into a product center. So how we adapted to it? It's of course the chain and everything. A lot of effort went to it, and also the relationship at the lowest level. For example, we adapted one of our brand ambassadors. If you look at it, we in some of our Lakshmi cement, we have that girl who is coming in. They're part of the posters and everything. So you don't have just a big brand friend. We try to connect with the grassroots. It's not just being woman centric or anything. It's let's connect. Village level people are simple folks. They may be big in money, but certain people, the decision makers of a particular age is very simple. And if we are in terms of simplicity, if as a company we are able to actually demonstrate and tell them the truth, it's not a big flyer that this product is comes from the best of plants. They don't understand. If we have maybe have put about 2000 invested 200,000 crores in using the best of technologies, but at the village it's very simple thing. What is the end thing they're getting? So the acceptance, if you look at, is uh, even some people say, and certain people say, why not you run a rural van? The process of rural van hints at when your product was at the earlier stages. The process of now rural van is what is the type of extra services that rural van may contain. You see, when you're running at a rural, certain even companies or the rural management companies come across and say, okay, sir, why not we run a rural van? But if you look at now, the basic things is we're trying to generate demand, sale, and actively connect our products and services with the people. So nowadays, the adaptations of the rural van be more in terms of the type of services, the type of technology demonstration, the site demonstration. The vans may contains a lot of CSR related queries. If somebody wants to invest a certain amount of money, what's the best way to do it? A lot of avenues to what you can do for the girl child, and of course the perspective, like when we run mason programs, contractors programs, small things which is able to connect. So what we have tried to do, if you look at the overall processes, we have got a large value chain from the plant to the eventually the customers. Each value chain is split up into manufacturing, then there is a set of influencers, there is a set of decision makers, then there is a network, then there is consumers, and even at the consumer levels there is a decision makers. And these all we have been over a period of time. We have used technology to capture data. We have used on-site programs. We have run certain high impact rural programs. Like first, we were the first in the cement industry that we used actually when we started running the van. I think it was Impact or it was one Madison and all. They were surprised that when they came up with the rural van, we said no. Before you map off your complete route, even none of the let's map each and every level at the point of GIS mapping how the van will run, and we layered it in the sense. He layered it in the sense certain people said, okay, let's talk about only 10,000 population size, 5,000 population size. Now 10,000, 5,000 population geographic mapping is dependent on also the profiling. If you go into certain segments of Bihar, Gaya, Ranchi, even in certain Bengal or Punjab, you may say certain villages has got a population of 5,000. You one shouldn't stop what we say is not on that population size. See, what happens is even in a low village, the income segment or there could be only a few pakka houses in that area and large tracts of land. So the village size may be small, but it is governed by only a few people who are controlling a larger tracker. So let's investigate. So when we started our map routing reverse way and layered it, we found that when the van is moving, let's not why not move it efficiently in a way. When it's going in a triangulation phase, why not go and touch new bases? So it was split it up to the old segment where it already catered to it, and it is also segmented to where it could be a potential in the sense. And then all the data were captured, and we tried to work out backward how the last mile. And over a period of time, when we found that it's not just a question of logistics, it's the question now is key at the particular point, how does the dealer at the retailer at the last point is able to quickly get the order and then confirm it to the company. One of the key factors in the industry is the speed of delivery. Certain costs when the construction happens is the cement, even in basically it happens in the rural, where a house is being constructed, there's a cost to the labor, there's a cost to the equipment being handled and all. So if the cement doesn't come on time, you lose out. And in certain village level, the money factor is a big event. So we have been able to connect through all of your different apps, which has got the facility of quickly dealers to book out the orders and see the confidence level as to when the position of their supply is happening and everything. So this is a big thing we have been trying to bringing out data analytics, using data analytics to connect digitally. We have been trying to see how our logistics works into the plant level, whether it's large distribution points, smaller volumes. We have been trying to now connect directly with our individual house builders or the rural level. The other thing is the confidence level of the dealers or the retailers. How do we connect with that? So it's if we look at the contour, we have been trying to become more customer centric in the sense. Customer centric is not just the customers in it, it's the process as to which even when the employee goes out and meeting this rural people, how fast they are able to quickly connect. That's the reason as to one of the steps, not just we as a company, but others also in the industries have been able to sustain or maintain the rural segment. And one of the relationship, what if you look at during this when the lockdown and happened on, we were able to ensure that at the last mile delivery at the rural level was quickly done. Quickly gauge out where the activity is going to take up, quickly gauge out where the construction is going to take up, quickly gauge out where the government focuses. That is the thing one needs to keep on. See, criticizing a government to who is ruling, it's a different issue. But or try to understand the people who are we are trying to understand that the people who are driving these government are people like us. They are the creative ideas, they are the people who are going to sanction the money, and we have to come forward and help out. So that is the reason that when we started even during the lockdown and everything, the law we ensured the last one delivery, right from even ensuring that a truck driver, where if he is hooked up at a particular point near the rural, he is not able to see sit idle or anything. And if in the sense that he's been taken off, the health care is being taken off, they have tracked and ensure pass on information at the village level. Okay, this truck is on the way, keep your laborers and everything ready. And also the advantage which we got is we found a lot of laborers going back to the village levels and all. They were able to quickly get into the construction field. So it's an opportunity. Some look at as uh, a defeat and all, but the others look at it as an opportunity. Uh, and that is what is will drive rural in a big way. Like we see it in our opportunity right now. We have more number of people who have now shifted from the city level being educated, going back to the hometowns, and they're double benefit. They're part of the decisions also, and they're part of the construction process also, and they're helping their people. So the level and the education level of the decision makers. So if you look at the brand perspective today, if we give them a better product, for example, we recently launched one of in the Udaipur belt tunnel, we launched the product called Supremo and everything, where it can be specialized used in the rooftop, and it's very picking up. So what has been the advantage? These people are now quickly able to make their parents or forefathers look. instead of highly being dependent on just the contractors or the masons, this is a company who is coming us to help us. Let's spend some extra and get a product which is going to last us a much longer time. And so if you look at the geographical spread and everything, it's a question of how do you step out. Like I said in the beginning is, if you step into a mud or a paddy field, for many of the paddy field is when you go up from the urban and all, they say, "Kyari, I'll be bitten by the snake, I'll get." But others who are stepping out may look at it, okay, if I put my feet in the mud, I'm get a healthy benefit. My skin gets better. Two is the warmth which you feel, the coolness when you're walking it, and three is you see that opportunity. That is where the India exists. Okay, so if you step into that material, you see that opportunity. That's what we have been looking at always in the rural segment as an opportunity to helping us others.
Great,
So
Rajan.
that is a positive frame of mind which will always run. There's nothing negative or things will stop, things will look bad. It is how we map it, how we quickly step forward, how we connect with each other, and we have the inner faith which has driven this company right from to point of.
Thank you, Rajan. Very, very nice, very nicely said. So the 3 points I take away, one is that you do take the budgetary allocations at the state and the national level to decide what kind of money is being given to housing sector, to road construction, etc., which is one of the factor to decide the kind of markets that you should be present to capitalize that opportunity. Second thing you talked about was that the relationship with the masons and the users is one of your secret sauce of success in terms of getting your brand to the next level, and use of technology in marketing, if not in market assessment, but in physical market selection, but in connecting to dealers and fleet management as well as your transportation. That's a very interesting point. I think we should have an opportunity to also use this when we have a digital as well as third last mile technology seminar on this. Thank you so much, Rajan. It was exciting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rajan.
Okay, so gentlemen, with this, gentlemen and ladies, with this, we come to our last speaker, Mr. Vinayak. Vinayak is a accomplished professional. He is the VP Marketing in Field Corps in Seedworks International. As you must be knowing, seed market, agricultural seed market is almost a 24,500 crore market in India. He has almost 30 years of experience in agricultural inputs. He has worked with reputed companies like Bayer, DuPont, Pioneer, DCM Sriram, UPL, Advanta, Seedworks. And he has handled multiple responsibilities starting from sales, marketing, and also business development in India and Southeast Asia. He is currently pursuing his PhD. I think Vinayak will have a lot to learn from you, because you will be looking at not as a business practitioner, but also as a scholar in terms of the rural market, its accessibility as far as farmer community is concerned, in terms of marketing of seeds are concerned. What are some of the insights that you would like us to take note from as far as your industry is concerned? We'll love to hear.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay. After the two eminent speakers and your insights, I think there is very less to add, but the only thing is I have only rural. I don't have urban, but I'll just take you a little background, as Dr. Anup was also saying, and you also said what is rural. So if, I remember in early 90s when I started my career, or late 80s when, industry was opening up. There were a lot of companies which were entering into. So that time also, what was rural, as Dr. Kalra was saying, so where there is a cropping, agriculture, and where there is a dairy, and to add to it is poultry, fishery. So that was called as rural. But slowly, as urbanization happened, so the dairies moved to urban area, but the crops were still there. And now, the latest is the agriculture is also moving to urban. So people are trying to, use all the pots even in their flats to get, some of the vegetables for themselves. So for us, actually, urban is a segment now, which I mean, as a seed industry, we see. So what, this segment can be. So for us, I mean, if you ask me as a agri input player or a seed company, what is it? What is rural for us? So we say wherever, a farmer who is growing crops is rural for us. So it is more for us is we look it from the angle of, where which are the crops I'm operating into, where my product can be fit into. So all that can be a rural, for us. So that's the sphere where we operate. So now, seed is more of it's a rational purchase, and it's also like a seasonal business. It's not a business which is happening throughout the year. The portfolio which I'm taking care twice a year, and in vegetable you can get a chance of at least 3 to 4 crops in a year. So it's a very seasonal business. So when we say seasonal business, so you will be connecting with the customer after 1 year. So this becomes very important, to keep the connect with the customer. So after sales service is one of the area which is very prominently, differentiative, the one who keeps a regular follow up. You may be a seed player, but you have to, keep connecting with the farmers. You have to giving them different advisories, agronomy services. In addition, as Dr. Anup was also saying, it's not a product, but it is a product plus service, which is, becoming very important. So same is the case in seed also. So, but as you know, as I said, seed, the most important part is coming to, how we can define our markets and how, which are the areas, and how we can go on, increasing the volumes and revenues. So the fact is, seed is not a assembly line product. So basically, the planning is very complex and very important. The demand planning is very important factor in agri input business, especially in seed, where the seed is grown from the seed. The product itself is coming from the same product. So we have to plan at least 2 to 3 years in advance. So which means the chances of failure, we have to minimize the errors while we are introducing any product. So it becomes very important in agri input industry, especially in seed. So when you are advancing a product for a commercial stage, so the trialing, the error minimizing has to be much robust process. So that is where everything starts. So we don't have any chance. Once we have things in place, we have parent seed, we have production in hand, we cannot go back and say no, market is changed, वो तो farmer का trend बदल गया है. So these all are very difficult. So planning is the one piece which is very important. And when we say rational purchase, so even in my personal research study also, and while in my marketing arena also, when we do market research, so one thing is clearly visible in terms of getting the confidence of the customer on the product. The farmer more is the most impactful things, if we say effective things, are demonstrations and fellow farmers, which we say the influencers, the market influencers. So those two are very important. So it becomes, so when we say we are planning for the future market growth, or increasing the revenue, or getting more market share, or entrenching into a new geography. So this is very important that we should have sufficient number of exposure to the customer in terms of product, and we should have some of the influencers who can really influence the more number of farmers to adopt our product. So these are the basic things which are very important in seed business. So when we say in terms of consumer, so if we say the seed, normally in seed we say the seeing is believing. So it's not like jo dikhta hai bikhta hai, but seeing is believing is when your seed is at a maturity level, so you can bring the farmer, you can show him where your product is superior compared to compared to the competition. So clearly, if we say in terms of promotion, so there is a difference. For any new product, you have to bank more upon the post-sale activities. So when your seed, your demonstrations are on ground, or you have some influencers which are in place. So you can bring the farmers there, and your more of your spends go to post sale activities. While the products which has reached to certain levels, maybe 3 to 4 years of commercialization, so you can still bank on pre-sales activities where more of the early word of mouth, buzz creating, these kind of activities can be taken care. In terms of BTL and ATL, so we clearly see that BTL is more, impactful in our business compared to ATL. So our industry is still shy of, using all this TV, media, these kind of, mediums to go for the promotion part. But largely we still stick to, connecting with the farmers, with the local, one-to-one connects, with the village level meetings, more of the activities around the village where farmer engagement, and some of the other stuff which is around the retail connects. So this is what any I mean, seed is not like we can go and tell farmer and he will adapt our product. So there has to, because everything in agriculture, everything starts with seed. So there has to be a strong belief or conviction in the farmer's mind that if I'm using this product, we will be certainly getting. Also, it's not like the in the very first year or second year we will be getting at least 50 to 75% share of his total kitty of crop which he is growing. So it may start with 10%, may go up to 20%. But once there is a belief, once he is clear about the product, so the chances are it can be 3 to 4 times of his total land area. In terms of distribution, if I say, see, normally since we have a seasonal business, so our normal distribution channels are like two-layer distributor and retailer. But there used to be a time, if I talk about 15 years ago, there were more of wholesalers and less of retailers. But as the competition grew up and more number of players have entered, and also the entrenchment further at a retail level has started increasing. So now, granular level, so more of the distribution piece which has increased, so less of wholesalers at this point of time. But the latest trend is now we have e-commerce also, which is upcoming in agri platform also. So some of the key players which are already getting tie-ups with the big agri input players. And now it is a mix of, uh, though it is still a two-layer system, but the number of distributors definitely has increased. But let me add with one thing: we don't have, still, I mean, most of the players, I would say, very few players, they have a channel strategy like FMCG. I know, I mean, some of the case studies which I have gone through, the FMCG, the channel, strategy is very clear. There are clear benchmarks that beyond this revenue, there will be next channel. And the person who is actually doing business is also very clear. So we don't have these kind of, the clarities of the channel strategies, but some of the companies, some of the key big players, they have started doing it. And but still there is a way which, I mean, we have to cover in terms of defining the channel strategy. Now, coming to the next point, in terms of digital and social media. See, so far I tell you, before pandemic, this industry was just, I mean, I tell you, 5 to 10% of spend was going on social and digital platforms. But due to pandemic, so there was a sea change, and there was only a dependency on digital and social platforms. So there was a glut on the very common platforms like WhatsApp, SMS, IVR calls, and then Facebook, YouTube. So all this now is gutted with all the agri input companies are actually exploring, and some of the big players, the promotional, the companies, they are also helping these companies to go organically as well as inorganically on these platforms. And as far as we are concerned, we are also exploring augmented reality and virtual reality tools, and the initial response is very good. And we think that though there is, one, it is seasonal. The second, you need to have a lot of stuff to share with them. So it is just a beginning, but I think these are the areas which will grow in the coming days. Now, there are other specialized tools also which we personally explored, and I feel that these can be very, very useful in some of the states where, we have some clarities in terms of, the coverage of smartphones, etc. So, Inmobi, Zapper, these are the tools, and there are some similar tools also. So, which are, can give an advantage in some of the states. But the challenge in digital platform, which personally I feel is, as you rightly said initially, you were saying, I mean, digital, there are certain data, but still there are some speculations also, and there are the views on both the sides. So I would say, yes, there is a penetration of smartphone, and this is the way to go in future. But at this point of time, the one of the challenges, there is a penetration of smartphone, but I realize that whether the decision maker is using the smartphone or not. So that's one of the point which is still, has little needs further clarity. But I feel farmer may not have smartphone, but his kids are having smartphone. So, but are they influencer? Can they really take the message to the decision maker? So these are the things at this point of time we are struggling. I'm not saying no or yes to this, but yes, this is one of the, the area which we have to explore. But yes, slowly this will explore, and the early we move into, these kind of the applications, so the better it will be for our industry. The another challenge in our industry is price discovery. While we are using, price discovery is very, very complex in our industry. Like, I mean, other industries, pharma, FMCG, where, MRPs are certain, treated as, sort of the benchmark for consumer pricing, but our industry is still struggling in that. So while we are trying some of the value pricing tools and some of the other tools in terms of defining the pricing, but still a way to go. I mean, it's just at an initial stage. So MOPs are not clearly defined in our industry. And this is one of the big challenges, so which we have to address in the coming year. So that's another thing. And also, the product differentiation is very, very important. See, in agriculture, especially in seed business, I cannot say the yield can be the criteria, because I cannot keep on giving a product with 10% superiority. So that's not possible in the science. So there are value added traits like, resistance, tolerance to diseases, pests, and some of the nutritional, less nutritional requirement, fitment to, rain-fed geographies, and some of saline water. So the value-added traits will make the difference. So that's where now we are actually banking upon some of the non-GM traits, where, we are banking. Another challenge in our industry is we also deal in regulated crops like cotton. So there, the some of the permissions, approvals are not in our hands. So that's where we see, even you have some of the products which are good enough, but it will take some time maybe because of the process which we have. But ultimately, overall, if I say, in a seed business, so it's very small industry. The consumer understanding, yes, it has started now. We started understanding the consumer. So we also introduced, market research panel studies, so where we can see how the consumer behavior is. So this is one of the area which is upcoming and giving quite a bit insights, as how the rural consumer is changing behavior over a period of time. My personal experience, I mean, still we could see that the mindset changes over a period of time. So decision is not so firm. So there may be reasons we need to understand that. It's not like that it's a behavior, but why that is happening, there must be some reason. So these are few challenges, and these are, but we have opportunity in terms of, going digital, going on the social media platforms. So there is a big way to go. But overall, I mean, in terms of segmenting customer, so far we are only, segmenting on the basis of, say, my product fitment, my product maybe a crop maturity. If I have, a farmer in Chhattisgarh where his dependency is on the rain, so I know for a particular maybe 100 to 130 days kind of rice he would be needing. But if I'm in UP, where the irrigation is available, so I can go even up to 140 days of hybrid rice. So these are the segmentations which we are doing, and still, I mean, the segmentations like it is done in other industries. I mean, maybe on a demographic or on a some of the the social platforms. So still way to go, but that's where I mean at this point of time our industry is. Thank you so much.
Great. So excellent, Vinayak, excellent. I think some of the points that you raised were very right. And I thought what I learned from you was the secret sauce of success in a seed industry is possibly planning. Because if you make a product and you are not able to sell, it is just not acceptable. So how sharply you plan and the science behind it is the key to success, if that's what I learned. And it was very heartening to know that the way you are trying to at least get to use the digital and the technology in terms of farmer connect, as well also for communication. That is also very heartening to know. I think over last 3 or 4 years, I have seen a substantial amount of development in this area. At least in FMCG, I have seen, and I never thought in my last 30 years of career, I have not seen so fast a movement in terms of solution to some of the problems we ever faced. In terms of tracking salesmen, in terms of even using simple things like promoting your products by window displays or putting up posters and getting actual image recognition technology to tell you whether the poster was actually fitted there on that particular day or not. Those kind of things have become child's play. So I think as the data becomes more and more rich, we will have solution at least to target the right customer and also to target the right kind of media. But on the whole, today's topic, what it was in terms of the assessment of the market, still I am searching for an answer that those villages which is below 5,000 and which is about 5.68 lakh population out of total 6 lakhs, which is almost 90-95%. That access, that distance is not going to be lesser just because technology is around. So that are we going to see a huge change in terms of facility, in terms of delivering in time, the TAT being less, and how do we address that? Is there? I am very hopeful that I will see possibly a Uber kind of a transport where multiple companies. Stocks can be at any point of time. Any company is trying to reach a 500 population also, he should be able to identify when and where and how my stocks will reach. So that technology, I also am very hopeful will come. So on the whole, I see a lot of hope because of technology not only improving efficiency but also creating demand which was either getting lost or was not being created because of lack of information, lack of awareness. So for across industry, I see that. If there are any, though we have overshot our time by about 5 minutes, if there are any questions, there were 3 questions actually which came in the chat box. One was how to target rural audience. On that, gentlemen, I would request you that we have a session on 26th November on communication, and you must attend that. There will be very evolved speakers there where we are talking about the ways of communicating with the rural customers, targeting, segmenting, as well as various media vehicles that can be used. That session will be appropriate to answer this question rather than offhand saying something in this particular meet. And there was another question about semi-urban and rural market for newspaper perspective. Well, every category has a different way of operation in rural. We have all seen, like today we found 2-3 different categories accessing rural in 3 different ways. But what you want to do with that newspaper? You want to deliver newspaper, you want to collect news, you want to collect advertisements. What you want to do is we can separately take it offline and we can discuss, and whatever little thoughts I can provide, and if any of my co-panelists want to answer this question, is up to them. They were please most welcome. And there was another question on the e-commerce and called parched. I think that also will take offline, because that is not close to what we are discussing today. So I will connect to you, Shreya, and try to understand this question a little better. If there are any further questions on this to any of the panel members, I would request the audience, most welcome.
Uh, Hello.
Yes, please. We can hear you, sir.
There was that second question in terms of the newspaper deliverance at the
Yes.
rural belt and all.
Yeah.
Whoever's asked it, see the base of newspaper, what we have found in the rural is how many people are going to read it. When you look at overall readership on an average level, be it urban or be it here, one newspaper as a thumb rule is read by actually a minimum set of three people on an average. If you look at the readership reports or INS, be it urban, and this shoots up and the rural. The rural, of course, the geography goes into the picture. Who is going to read out at the base level of the rural, whether it's more of the education or is there somebody who's actually sitting and reading it? So when we talk about the what has been the examples, like if you look at certain rural segments in Calcutta and others, how they went about adapting the newspapers at the village level. Education is one key. What they did is to deliver it to the last mile at the rural belt. You have the small reading points. They have actually constructed a flat sort of a table top where every morning newspaper person will come, open that box, and spread out the newspaper. So there, the cultivation of the reading habits of ensuring that the villagers start reading the newspaper, and more people started demanding. Some when they started, okay, they felt that this newspaper was not being deliverance in terms of the news they want to see or the particular path they want to follow, they started ordering it. So first you had the first box having for say Anand Bazar Patrika. Next in the village level you had say what you had Vartman, the newspaper, the another box created. So now it came into the point of the advertisers. They started adapting the box first at one and pasting it. So pasting it and inculcating the reading habits and the last one delivering of newspaper. Now, how do you plan to use it? These boxes are very useful in the sense. Today, the steps, the next step, mild deliverance in the sense is what we're trying to understand that either ABP or Vartman or maybe Times of India or somebody or Dainik Bhaskar, in these reading sections, they have started planning to put QR codes pasted. So with the penetration of smartphones, which they see in the rural, in villages and all, people are getting that opportunity. You go read the newspaper, scan that QR code, and the QR code may pop up and either in a mechanical way in a smartphone give you the full advertisement, and if you have a base phone, tell you what the product is all about. So if somebody wants to talk about well, like what Sanjay sir was aptly saying, the question arises through a newspaper, what do you want to do? It is the before you what you want to do is there whoever is looking at should also look at the opportunity as how they want to have the last deliverance part. If you don't want have that, any technology which you adapt, any smartphone which you think a reader know, it's not going to be successful. These are the small bits and pieces will make you highly successful. It is first try to use the infrastructure which is in place. Don't try to push forward and bring into a large picture, okay, this technology setup or this infrastructure, because anything which you do, it leads to a lot of costs and lot of spend, and the success ratio could be 0.01%, it could be 1%, it could be 100, or it could be less than 1. So first, use the base infrastructure and see how you can innovate and use it. Once that comes into the picture, how do you want to again, Mr. What Sanjay sir has said from the audience, The question is what you want to deliver through the newspaper, be it an ad, be it a news, or actually cross sell a newspaper will automatically fall into the picture. Everything has got an opportunity. Is the way you use it. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. So if there are no further questions, we may like to end today's deliberations. So we have 4 more webinars coming up, and I would like to just remind that on 19th we will have the impact of pandemic in the national economy and what is this rural growth story. That is 19th March. On 22nd, 26th March, each one is a Friday. We will have on communication, smarter ways of rural communication. Then last mile is something which we discussed also today. So on technology, last mile will be on 2nd and April. And last will be, we are talking about digital. Also, we are saying that as far as rural is concerned, relationship, trust are very important. Can that be done using digital, or are we talking of physical and digital? That is called phygital. That's a new term that we are trying to say. Phygital. What is the next frontier to be scaled? So that will be digital or phygital on 9th April. I think we will have another 4 very, very interesting sessions. Thank you very much, all the participants and my co-panelists Vinayak, Rajan ji, Dr. Anup. It was an excellent deliberation. We have a lot of take-homes, and any questions that any of the participants have to any of the panelists, please put it in your question answer, or you can send it to us to RMAI. We will try to answer you one-on-one if there is a possibility. And thank you very much and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.